Hello, friends. We're here for some number corner review. We definitely missed having our calendars in our classrooms and using the calendar markers to discuss patterns. Unfortunately, we won't be able to continue that through our distance learning, but we thought number corner would be the perfect time to review concepts and ideas that we've done throughout the year as a way to just make sure that we get it, that we understand it, that we've mastered it as third grade students. So join us today, and typically Fridays will be dedicated to number corner review, okay? So today our focus is plotting fractions. So I'm gonna show you my screen in a second. Share screen. So I'm gonna just close this for a second, that's weird. So plotting fractions. First of all, I just want you to think, what do you notice? So look at that number line really well. What do you notice about the number line? And as you're thinking, like, what do you notice? How would you even plot fractions on this number line? How would you plot fractions or jot down fractions on this number line? So take a few seconds right now to just think. And if you're back, that means that you were thinking about it, you were looking at that number line, you were analyzing it. And let's write a statement. So make sure you take out your math notebook. I always forget to tell you guys what to take out at the beginning, but take out your math notebook. And let's just write a statement over here. So I think, or something I noticed about this number line is, Okay, so just jot that down in your notebook. Something that you just thought about, like what's something you notice about this number line, and we're gonna discuss it in a moment. Pause now so that you can write. Man, what I really miss the most is our interaction in class, because we would ask you guys questions and then we would grab our popsicle sticks and call on different people to discuss. We would have you guys turn and talk. And unfortunately, we're missing that piece in the classroom. So I hope that you're writing and that you're thinking out loud, because that's where the learning takes place, friends. When we learn, it's when we talk and we think and we try, okay? So something you might have noticed about this number line is that there's a star on the number line. Something else you might have noticed is that the number line it's from 0 to 1, okay? A third thing that you might have noticed is that there's tick marks or little lines in between 0 and 1, but they're missing numbers or they're missing fractions. So if you were like, oh, it's between 0 and 1, that means that we're dealing with not a whole number, but a fraction of a number, right? A fraction of a whole. So we know that we're looking at fractions. That's number one. You also might have maybe counted the number of jumps between tick marks. So like you might have said, this is 1 jump, 2 jumps, 3 jumps, 4 jumps, 5 jumps, 6 jumps, 7 jumps, 8 jumps. You might have noticed for the most part that in between the tick marks, it looks like equal parts, right? Like it's partitioned equally. Now, my second question is, how do I plot fractions on this number line? Well, we know we're dealing with fractions, and so we're gonna try it. So listen, watch, and then we're gonna do a recipe card together and you're gonna write it down in your math notebook. So you're like, oh, now I know for sure how to definitely plot fractions if perhaps you forgot, okay? So I know it's in between 0 and 1, and I know in order to figure out my denominator, that number on the bottom, I have to figure out how the whole has been partitioned, right? Or how it's been cut. I like to look at these number lines and I like to imagine like a long piece of cake or like a long brownie or like a long sandwich in order to guide my thinking. So if I look, how many total jumps do I have? I have 1. You know what? I'm gonna grab a pen and give me a second. And I'm gonna just let's do light purple. So let's see how many jumps. So 1 jump, 2 jumps, 3 jumps, 4 jumps, 5 jumps, 6 jumps, 7 jumps, 8 jumps. So my sandwich, my brownie has been partitioned into 8s. So that number The number of jumps I counted in total from the way that the whole has been cut or partitioned is going to become my denominator. It's been cut into eighths. Now what I want to do is I want to label every tick mark, so every piece out of the whole. So if I were to cut this piece and I would only take that first piece, this would definitely be 1/8. Okay, that would be my second piece, right? Because that's my second jump. That would be 2/8. If I continue, this would be 3/8. This would be 4/8 or 1/2, because 4 is half of 8 and 1 is half of 2. This would be 5/8. What do you think this one would be? Yep, you said it. You said it at home. 6/8. And then this one would be 7/8. Or 7/8, and then 1, a whole, or this is our 8th, right? This is our 8th jump. This is our 8th piece. So this would be 4/8, which is the same as 1 whole, which was a claim that we had in class. Whenever the numerator and the denominator are exactly the same, that is the equivalent, or it is equivalent to 1 whole. Now, if I go back to my third little question with the blue star down there, it says which fraction is indicated by the star on the number line. And if I look, I've already figured it out, right? Because I made sure to label every tick mark so I wouldn't make a mistake. And I see that it is 3/8. Okay, so now I want you to just pause and look at what we just did and think to yourself, like, how is it if I had to write a recipe card for a second grader, what would I describe, or how would I describe this to a second grader? What step by step would I give to them to figure out how to plot fractions on a number line? Okay, so that's what we're gonna do next. Make sure you have your math notebook ready. I'm gonna clear this drawing, clear all drawings. And let's go to the next page. We're gonna make a recipe card. So this is step by step, what do we do, right? So the first thing we did really was that we noticed, and you're gonna write this down. I want you to write recipe card at the top, plotting fractions on a number line, and every single thing I write on this recipe card, I want you to jot it down as well. So we noticed a number line. So we notice and analyze how the number line is drawn. Okay, that's number 1, right? We want to notice things. Number 2, in order to determine and I'm going to change the font so you can really see that juicy, juicy word. In order to determine the denominator, remember that's the number on the bottom. In order to determine the denominator, we have to figure out how the whole has been partitioned by making jumps from 0 to each tick mark on the number line until you get to 1, right? That's how we figured out the denominator just now. We jumped from 0 to 1, and we jumped from 0 to the first tick mark, and then to the second, and then to the third, until we got to the 8th tick mark, which was the whole, right? So that is when we figure out what the denominator is. In order to figure out the numerator, we go back to 1 or go back to 0, and each jump represents a piece out of the whole, okay? So like we did earlier, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. Number 4, if it's asking us to present or say which fraction is indicated by a star or another symbol, jot down that fraction. Okay, I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger, maybe our font a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit bigger. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to pause right now and jot down this recipe card in your math notebook so that you have every single thing. And I'm just gonna read it one more time. We notice and analyze how the number line is drawn. That's number one. Number two, in order to determine the denominator, we have to figure out how the whole has been partitioned by making jumps from 0 to each tick mark on the number line until you get to 1. In order to figure out the numerator, we go back to 0 and each jump represents a piece out of the whole. Number 4, if it's asking us to present or say which fraction is indicated by a star or another symbol, jot down that fraction. So pause me now, jot this down, and then when we come back, I'm gonna pause this for a second because I'm gonna transition to hopefully our document camera, okay? Pause. And I'm gonna pause my video for now. All right, guys, so we're back. I'm gonna try this thing with the document camera again. It's kind of hard because I have to make my own setup, but we're gonna do these first two together. So make sure you try to write out what I have here in your notebook. And the third one you're gonna do as an exit ticket. So you definitely need to make sure that you write it out. So if I look at number 1, I have my number line from 0 to 1, and I have this tick mark, this tick mark, this tick mark, this tick mark with a star, and then again, my 1 is over here with a tick mark as well. So I want to figure out first what's my denominator. So if I go back to my recipe card, I know I need to count the number of jumps in order to see how the whole has been partitioned. So that's what I'm going to start by doing. Just going to grab a different colorful pen so it's easier to see. And I'm going to count my jumps. So let's see. That's 1 jump. Count with me. 2 jumps, 3 jumps, 4 jumps, 5 jumps. And so I have 5 jumps. My whole has been partitioned into fifths. I'm going to write that down. My whole, down here, my whole has been partitioned into fifths. So my denominator must be 5, okay? So I know my denominator is 5, so I'm going to write it down over here on this side. My denominator is going to be 5. I don't know what the star is yet, but now what I'm going to do with a different color is that I'm going to label each tick mark as a fraction, as a piece out of the whole. So if every denominator, if this has been partitioned into fifths, that means that every denominator for every fraction on this number line is going to be a 5 because it's been partitioned into fifths. And this would be the first pieces, it's the first jump. So this is 1/5, say it with me, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. Okay, and then the last part of our recipe card, I asked you guys to jot down the fraction indicated by the star or whatever symbol may be utilized. And if I'm looking, I see that 4/5 is located at the star. So I'm gonna write 4/5. That's the first one. So now we're gonna try to do the second one, and I'm sorry, the quality right now is not so great. I'm trying, friends. Let me see if I can make this a bit bigger. No, it's about the same. Okay, we'll just keep going. All right, so the second one, look at it, you're gonna draw it out as well. Again, remember you can pause as we do this. So I have it from 0 to 1. And then 0 has its own tick mark, 1 has its own tick mark, and let's see how many tick marks we have. So that's 1 tick mark, 1 jump, 2, 3, 4. Do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in total, we have 10 tick marks. And now we're going to do some jumps, right? So we're going to figure out what the denominator is by doing our jumps. So 1, count with me, 2 jumps, 3 jumps, 4 jumps, 5 jumps, 6 jumps, 7 jumps, 8 jumps, 9 jumps, 10 jumps. Okay, so now we know that we have 10 jumps, so I'm gonna write down over here, my whole has been partitioned into tenths, so my denominator must be 10, right? We see that it must be 10. And so we know, and I'm going to write it down on the side, that my denominator is 10, and every fraction I'm about to label has to have the denominator of 10, so I don't forget. Okay, and now I'm going to go in and I'm going to count, right? I'm going to go by tick mark to see what piece it is out of the whole. So this is the first jump, so 1/10. This is the second jump, so 2/10, and so forth. 3/10, 4/10, say it with me. 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 1 whole, or 10/10. And if I look at the star, where is it located? It's located at 3/10. So that's my fraction that's indicated by the star. Now what you're gonna do, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit with my phone, so give me a second. What you're gonna do is you're going to do this exit ticket on your own. So I want you to pause it so that you can write it down, your exit ticket, look at how many tick marks there are, look at where the star is. Make sure you pause. And I will send a picture of it as well because I know it's kind of shaky, but this is the exit ticket that I would like for you to send to your teacher. So either me, Ms. Alonso, or Ms. Delgado, have your parents send it so we can see that you truly understand how to plot fractions on a number line. Can't wait to see you in the next video, and I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. See you later.